Another edition of Talkin' Track. Matt Fontana, Ryan Stillman alongside, presented by our great friends at My Racehorse, myracehorse.com, and a production of the Big Play Sports Network. A lot to get to on this week's edition of the show. We got more picks coming from you. For Ryan, I should say. I don't know if you want my picks, but we'll get Ryan's picks for some big races coming up. But we also have to recap some big races last week. Obviously, we're already starting to think Derby Trail, point allocation. It's all going on in the horse racing world right now. Ryan, appreciate you as always joining us here on the show. And again, looking back, there were some big races last week. A lot that we talked about with some big point implications on getting on that trail towards the Kentucky Derby.
Perfectly put, as always, Matt. Good to see you, my man. And honestly, I'm really excited because last week we had you do something where you were going to try to help me name a horse, and we've got answers today. We're going to find out if you named that horse. But let's start with what everyone's really here for, which is the Kentucky Derby. So the world of horse racing moves fast, Matt. I mean, it goes so fast. Sometimes, though, it's like water, right? Or it's just still, or you're in the eye of the storm. So my question for you is, do you think there was a change in my top 12? Since last week?
I would say there'd have to be. You know, the list that we went through last week with some of the big races coming up, obviously somebody won, somebody came in third. Like, I would have to say that now, man, maybe you got me because you mentioned we might be in a little calm of the storm right now. But I'm going to say there's been a change in your top 12. I'm going to say yeah.
You're correct.
Right.
You're correct. We have a new horse on my top 12 Kentucky Derby list, and he is high up on our list. I'm talking very high, but the question is, who is it? So this week, Matt, we're going to do it again. We're bringing it back. Name and rank. This week, there were 5 impressive Derby hopefuls. They say you have just as good of a chance picking the Derby winner by picking the best name as you do following the form all year. Matt, you're great at picking names. So I'm going to throw up the 5 names of the horses that impressed me most this week on the Derby Trail. Let's have you rank these favorite to least favorite for me, brother.
All right. The first one that jumped out to me was Rapture. I just like that name. I think journalism came up with us before. Coal Battle, Authentic Gallop, Vassimo. I'm actually going to go Rapture 1, Vassimo 2. I like Coal Battle 3rd. And then we'll go Authentic Gallop, Journalism. I think that's going to be my list, my rank for this week.
Now, are you going to lock in Rapture as your pick for who made my list or just best name? Because those could be 2 different things.
They could be 2 different things. I will do both. I'm going to say it's the best name, and I'm also going to lock it in as the horse that made your list.
All right, it's time to reveal who made my list. Let's toss it up there. The brand new top 12.
Journalism. Knew it. Should have been journalism. Because we talked about him last week on the show, so it should have been journalism.
No, let me tell you something, though. Let me tell you what's exciting. Honestly, Rapture, there's a buzz about him. You're going to learn about him later in the show when we talk to Aaron, that could be one of the greatest trainers in the United States, best horse for the Derby. That's a little spoiler for you guys. So you're not far off, Matt. I'm very impressed. It's a great pick. But we also have some good big news, too. Last week, my number 2 horse, Gaming, he is gone. And he was the biggest horse on the West Coast. So we've got a hard pass on him right now. In fact, we've even got a hymn to say goodbye to Gaming for letting us down so badly last week.
He's off the list, done forever.
Sucks.
Huh? Yeah,
he took all of our bucks, and we almost had an aneurysm. He fell off of our list, and he won't be missed. And we've got a new horse, Journalism.
That's quite the shot at Gaming there. It's not just that we took him off the list, Ryan. We had a song to send him off the list. What happened to our boy? What happened?
He didn't fire, took a lot of money. A lot of people are bummed out. Not only did he not fire, he's throwing out of whack what we thought we knew about this crop, man. The Derby Trail, in my opinion, this week exploded because the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, which he was second in, and he seemed to be the runner-up for championship honors, the horses have been coming back and running like... So honestly, Gaming not only drops off of our list with a really horrible performance, but I'm just going to even keep him out of my top 12 for right now, and he's going to have to earn his way back in. Hard pass for me. Journalism, though. Really nice performance this week. In fact, I mean, he's a good-looking horse, in my opinion, too. This is a handsome son of Curlin who looks like sky's the limit. Look, Vegas is one thing that's completely different than my list, right? Because Vegas has its own list, the Future Derby list. So how does that work? The Future Derby is basically people betting from around the world on who they think will win the Kentucky Derby next year, okay? So they have a list out there in Vegas, and the goal is to get a great price on a horse in the Derby 6 months out. Now, you hope you get your horse to the Derby, which is a minor miracle in itself, but if your horse gets there and you bet him in November at huge odds, you have a really big chance of cashing big. So let me tell you a little story, Matt, that might just blow your head off on how much money you could potentially make. So I had a friend last year who bet $1,000 in the future books on a horse named Sierra Leone. He got him in November or December at 150 to 1 odds. So Sierra Leone made it to the Kentucky Derby. He not only made it, he went off as the second choice. So if you were to bet $1,000 on him on Derby Day, you were probably just going to make, I don't know, let's say $4,000. My friend had him because he had that future bet. His ticket was worth $151,000. So how did Sierra Leone do? Let's take a look at the finish of this year's Kentucky Derby. So that is Sierra Leone closest to the camera. He lost by a nose, Matt, and my friend lost $151,000. Just like that.
Oh, just like that.
It's kind of amazing, right? So, you know, you've seen my list, but let's see if you can guess which horse is the current Kentucky Derby future favorite in Las Vegas, based on my list. Do you think you could pick which horse is the new future favorite this week?
And it's so interesting that you bring it up to have a quick conversation before we get on the list, because Ryan, Vegas is also dependent on the money coming in, and they will move odds when they get big bets, and it's no different than football or basketball or any other sport. So I think that's why it is so interesting to be able to compare your list to comparing Vegas, because like you said, there's value that could be played there. So there are people that'll put money on this horse, or again, a big name horse, a lineage type of horse that could sway some bettors and then change the odds out there in Vegas. That's why I think your list is one to go off of and kind of see where we can compare on some of these horses that are out in Vegas. Ryan, pull the list back up for me, please. Thank you. And I want to see the list to see where we think. So obviously, I'm assuming Vegas is smart and they listen to you or have a good idea of where you're at. So I'd like to say it's Citizen Bowl, but for some reason, journalism, because if he's rocketed up your list like that, I'm going to go Sovereignty. I'm going to say number 3, Sovereignty, is the number 1 horse in Vegas right now.
Wow. Okay, let's take a look. We're going to lock that in. And here is the current list. You did very good, man.
Close.
Sovereignty's number 2. I mean, and this is what we like about these lists. So if you're new to it, let me give you some secret insight on how to maybe pick a Derby horse based on this list. It's one thing for a guy like me to come up here and tell you, I like this horse or I like that. But what's behind that? That's just an opinion, possibly, right? I mean, I lay money down, but these are people that are willing to put money behind their opinions. So it's not just some guy going, oh yeah, I like this horse. This is someone that's like, I'm going to take hard-earned cash and bet it on something. And I like those opinions a lot more. Journalism, after his performance this week, has rocketed up to number 1. Sovereignty is number 2, which is interesting because nothing's really happened with Sovereignty other than just sort of the form of the Breeders' Cup Juveniles sort of falling apart, which Citizen Bull won. So right now, if you were to look in Vegas, what makes me very intrigued is, why is Sovereignty number 2? Does somebody behind the scenes know something in the Bill Mott barn about how much they like that horse? But I think one thing is worth noting that my mind was blown. So Matt, a few weeks ago on this show, I gave out a name to bet in the future books, San Saba. Now the horse, he hadn't raced at the time. He still hasn't raced. And I guess some of our listeners were paying attention, or word is out, because if you look at this list right now, he's number 13. He's unraced. He's untested, untried. So I expect him to run very shortly, maybe, who knows, the next few weeks or so. So look out for San Saba. But let's do name and rank here now with horses who've got money behind them. Matt, does any name stick out to you in general? Like, who would you lay some cash out on based on this list? You can even look at the odds yourself. I'm just so curious where you would go.
Just off of the name, again, I like that name, Citizen Bull, but obviously he's pretty high on the list. So I'm going to go. We know Chancer McPatrick has been on this show. We've discussed him before. I like Owen Almighty. I don't know why. That just is a name that stands out to me. I take it back. Getaway car. Supposed to be fast, right? You got to have a getaway car to get away. That's fast. I'm going to go getaway car. That'd probably get my some of my cash right there. What, 22 to 1?
You know what? It's not the world's worst bet, because he's kind of a horse. So this weekend, as we're going to see in a minute with our interview with Aaron, he finished second in a very big race, the Los Alamitos Futurity. And he's just kind of a horse that, like, he disappoints, and then he sort of always is there in the mix. And sometimes those horses on the big days, they just put it together. So I'm not mad at it. You're getting the odds, you're getting Baffert. And, sometimes horses that are better, it's not even who's the best horse. It's just who's the best horse that made it to the Derby. And he's a very consistent horse. So I've got nothing against it if you're going to take a flyer on a Baffert horse. So very, very nice pick over there, my man.
Can't beat that. Can't at all. All right, he's mentioned it. You have Aaron Halterman, Racing Dudes. We've had Aaron on the show before. Here's Ryan sit down with Aaron Halterman of the Racing Dudes.
Hello, everyone. I'm back with Aaron Halterman of RacingDudes.com. The year's winding down. We've got a few preps left to cover this year. And boy, I feel like the Derby Trail imploded this weekend, Aaron. Would you say that's fair to agree?
I think what happened is a couple of favorites got beat, but I do think horses that were likely or maybe not the most likely, but logical winners won it. So I wouldn't call it imploded, but maybe one race for sure where a horse didn't run very well that we're going to talk about. It's like, that's not good. But I don't think it's chaos yet. Let's put it that way.
Well, let's dissect everything. And let's start with a maiden special weight of all things, because there's two horses I think we really need to follow. Let's go to it. What do you say, Aaron?
Let's do it.
All right, Aaron, the maiden special weight of the day. Why don't you take it away? Because I think you had an eye on some of these horses coming into it before they even debuted.
Yeah, the horses that are going to run first and second here are the two that I'd kind of heard a little bit about. So the number 9 Vassimo is the winner of the race. So keep your eye on him. He's all the way to the outside. And then the number 1 Rapture all the way to the inside there. So they kind of had him bookended. And look, both these horses making their first ever start. It's really hard to make your first start and you draw the 1 hole because you kind of have to run inside horses like you're having to see Rapture do. But he handled it very well. There wasn't really any problems. He wasn't, intimidated by the horses to his outside, anything like that. So he did everything well. But you see Vassimo, he's got a very clean trip, no dirt in his face. He's all the way still to the outside. And that kind of was a very nice draw for him. He got very comfortable for a first-time starter. That's what you want to see. So this is a 1-mile race, so we're getting into the top of the stretch here. And look how Vassimo makes the move, and boom. The 2 horses that were ahead of him, not so much anymore. He's going to put the 7 away. But here comes the 1 Rapture. And right here when I was watching this live, I thought we're going to see a really good race between 2 heavily hyped horses. Now, here comes Rapture, and it looks like right here, Rapture is going to maybe get up alongside him, maybe even pass him. Looks like he has the momentum. But you see right there, the jockey starts moving the hands pretty aggressively, going to the whip on the 9 Vassimo. And watch this entire stretch. These 2 horses just totally pull away from everyone else. But Vassimo just would not let Rapture by. Look at this right here. He digs in. You can visibly see him just putting his head down and saying, no, you're not going to do it. And look at him linked in the stride. I'm going to tell you something. That was super impressive from the 9 Vassimo, and that was super impressive from the 1 Rapture. Both of these horses are very good. They were over 13 lengths clear of the 3rd place horse. Look at the gallop out. That's another big thing you look at. They're doing just fine. They're galloping out with plenty of energy. But for 2 horses with not any experience on the racetrack, for the 9 to just know when to dig in and put away a horse, very impressive. And for the 1 Rapture to kind of handle everything, not being totally ideal for him, getting dirt in his face for the first time, being pinned inside, really impressive. Now, you might say, hey, Rapture, yeah, he should have won. He didn't have any excuses. Well, his excuse was he was chasing a very good horse. Imagine if the 9 Vassimo's not in the race. Rapture wins this race by 13 lengths, and we're going crazy. Keep an eye on both of them. I think they're both very good.
Aaron, what were you hearing prior to this race? Like some inside info, like what was the buzz about the 9 and the 1?
Yeah, I think, I've been in the game, thankfully, for a long time, and you do kind of, as you go, you get connections with certain barns and certain trainers and jockeys and all this stuff. And basically what I heard was a very simple thing that I hear a lot. This horse can run, right? And so when you're getting these debut horses, I always kind of ask, hey, what do you think of Vassimo, let's say, for example? And they'll either say, yeah, this horse can really run, or they'll say, no, don't do it today. Definitely don't bet this horse. And so for Vassimo, I heard this horse could really run. For Rapture, a couple things. Brad Cox usually does not debut horses at Gulfstream Park, so I thought that was very fascinating. I don't know why he did it here, but he did. And the second one was I heard, because we've talked about Brad Cox, he's got a lot of horses. I kind of heard through the grapevine, hey, this is one he thinks might be his best. So it was like a pretty heavy tout on Rapture, and then just the standard Todd Pletcher type tout that I will get of, yeah, he can run, or no, he can't. So I knew both of them were pretty good. To be very transparent, I picked Rapture in this race because of that kind of, hey, this might be one of Brad Cox's best horses as a 3-year-old or 2-year-old going to be 3. So I picked Rapture. But man, sometimes you pick a horse and they run well and you still lose, and that's what happened.
It's totally fair, Aaron. And so definitely 2 to really look forward to on the Kentucky Derby Trail. Wow. Could have been the race of the day. But if we're talking about Derby points, I think it's time to head over to the Springboard Mile, where points were up for grab first this week. So let's take a look at that next. All right, Aaron, the first of the 2 big Derby preps we saw this week was at Remington Park. It was the Springboard Mile. The horse I was eyeing was the number 3. Why don't we take it away here? Points were up for grabs.
Yeah, big race here at Oklahoma City, Remington Park, like you said, and a good break for everybody. The 3 Speed King is the horse that we both picked. This horse is going to finish second to the 1 Coal Battle. So you kind of look at it now, nice, easy break. And the 3 was the horse that we thought would go to the front, and that happened. And so here you're feeling pretty good. The eventual winner is going to sit about 5th or 6th right now. He'll kind of be towards the back pretty much the whole time. So it's very interesting because the 3 was a horse that beat Caldera, the horse for my racehorse that on debut. It was Speed King that was able to get the job done in that one. So I was very interested in him. And then Coal Battle had lost to a horse named Poster, who we talked about earlier in one of the earlier shows in the Rimson at Aqueduct. So as you see here, as I'm watching this race unfold, it's the 3 and the 9. And I just look at the 3 Speed King. I thought he's in really good shape. He's in front. He's not going overly fast, and he's doing it very easily. So I felt good. Here comes the 9, Dr. Ruben M., horse coming in from California, up to the throat lash. And I thought Speed King did a very impressive thing. He just turns that horse away. Boom. They asked the horse for a little bit right there. You saw a tap on the shoulder there a little bit. And Speed King's going to turn this horse away and really look like, okay, he might be something decent. And then look out. Here comes Coal Battle. You're going to pick him up now. He's in 4th. He's kind of awkwardly moving there. They're going left-handed on the whip. He just passes the 9, and now he's got his sights on Speed King. Speed King's slowing down a little bit. He's flip-flopping his leads. And then here comes Coal Battle right here, kind of with the head cocked over towards the grandstand. Not the prettiest mover, I would say. Not a horse that, we kind of watch those Gulfstream horses and it's like, oh, man, that looked good. This is not as great, I would say. And you look at the gallop out, he didn't have much. The 3 gallops out ahead of him. Of course, doesn't matter. You're getting paid on that 1 horse if you bet. But look, I thought it was a good race. He's going to have to get better. He's going to have to learn a little bit. He's going to have to run a little straighter, things like that. But for what the race was, which was a very mid-level like Kentucky Derby type of or Kentucky Derby prep type race, it wasn't horrible, and I think the horse will improve. And again, you see right here in the stretch, he's 4th. He's good 3, 4, 5 lengths out of it, Ryan. To make up that kind of ground, it's not easy. So, and I know the 3 was getting tired, but the 1 saw the 3, got in his sights, and then was able to get clear of him.
And I think that was an incredible breakdown. I think I see it the same way. The thing I took from this race, Aaron, 2 things mainly. One is I don't know what the 3 and the 1 are, but for whatever they're going to be, I think they're nice. Whether the 3 goes on to the trail or not, I like him as a sprinter. I like him as you know what I mean? I can, he's a solid horse. I have nothing wrong with it. And same with the winner here, whether he stays on the dirt or the turf. I don't know how I feel about them going towards the Derby at this minute, but they were clearly the best in this race, and they're solid horses is how I would describe them at this minute. Would you say that's a fair assessment?
Yeah, I think you could lump Coal Battle, Speed King, and Poster from the Rimson that we talked about because, I think they're all kind of in the same realm of, I think they're decent. I don't know to what degree or to what level they're decent, right? They may be a little better than that, but overall, it's like I think they're kind of in the middle of the pack right now. They didn't jump off the screen at me, but at the same time, they weren't like I didn't walk away from the race and go, well, that just wasn't very good, right? It's somewhere in the middle.
Absolutely. And then, so this brings me to the second thing that I took away from this and why I said at the beginning of the show, I felt like the Derby Trail imploded. Well, a little exaggerating, but Coal Battle, he came out of a race in October at Keeneland on the turf where he was racing against Poster. Poster won that day. So basically what am I getting at here is that there was a race in October at Keeneland on the turf that has produced 2 Derby points prep winners
And when you have a turf race producing sort of classy horses on the Derby trail, it just kind of throws everything into a little bit of chaos. Don't you agree, Aaron? It's just at this minute, not common. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more. It's very strange. There's turf racing and there's dirt racing. And usually if you're a turf horse and you're successful on the turf, moving over to the dirt it's not impossible, but you don't see it very often. And if you do, you might see it at the lower levels. This is, for what's running right now, the higher levels. And yeah, for that to happen is a real surprise. We'll see if that can continue to happen. And that fact that you just said does kind of hit the pause button for me, is like, okay, these horses won. Were they overly impressive, or are these fields not very good to quote unquote allow a turf horse to win them?
And here's what happened next. If you're following the story so far, this happens and you go, well, hopefully we get some normalcy, because the next prep had a horse that I ranked number 2 for the Derby last week, Gaming. And you're kind of hoping form will follow. Baffert, he's got 2 of the top 4 finishers for the Breeders' Cup Juvenile. Let's take a look at what happened next in the Los Alamitos Futurity. All right, Aaron, here we are at the Los Alamitos Futurity, 5-horse field, but a classy field coming into it nonetheless. Why don't you take it away as they break from the gate here?
Yeah, so the winner of this race is going to be the number 5 Journalism. He's on the outside. However, the number 1 horse Gaming, who was second in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile and second on both you and I's list for the Kentucky Derby, is also in this race. So Gaming's going to sit right there in third, and then you've got Journalism, the eventual winner, in second, and Getaway Car, who was fourth in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile, is setting the pace. So even though this is a terrible field as far as it's a short field, Ryan, there were some decent horses in here. And so you see right now, okay, the 2 horses that are in the back, they're both maidens, which means they've never won a race. So don't even look at them, right? The 3 horses that actually have a shot here, they're all just biding their time. They look very comfortable. And I don't know about you, but at this point I'm thinking, it could be any of them, but all of them kind of look well within their game at this point.
Yeah, if you were making a case for Getaway Car, I liked how he was going. Like, he's getting the setup he wants. And if Gaming's good enough, he should get him. And I don't think at this second, most people, to the unbiased eye, were thinking Journalism's going to win this. Maybe now they're starting to think a little differently as the race is starting to unfold. But would you agree, Aaron, that's the case we're seeing unfold here?
Yes, even right here, I thought, okay, Gaming, the number 1 horse, isn't going to fire, but I don't know if they're going to catch Getaway Car because he's kind of got out by himself. Gaming looks flat-footed. I kind of think Getaway Car might be the one to beat, and then boom. Look when they turn for home, and this horse Journalism hits the stretch. Gone. He absolutely is gobbling up the ground. Look at him. He is just striding out something huge here. He gets better and better as they get closer to the wire. I do want to point out something that I think I noticed about this horse here after we see him hit the wire. But again, with every stride, you're seeing him lengthen. He's got a nice long stride on him as well. Ryan, he's bred perfectly to go longer as well. He's got it all right now as far as pedigree goes, stride, how he looks, his size, all of it. The Beyer speed figure only came back as an 87. That's not fantastic, but it's still very early. I think he stamped himself as a pretty exciting prospect. I do want you to, while I talk here, rewind the tape back to the top of to the top of the turn. If you go a little bit further, okay, right there, that's fine. So watch what happens here. Watch the hands on the 5 here, of the jockey on the 5. Look at him pump, and the horse isn't making up any ground. Do you see that? They're on the turn at this point. Horse is not making up a lot of ground. He's starting to, but he's still not really making up a lot of ground. Now watch when they hit the stretch, how much ground he makes up. Boom, right here, and it's like, oh, he's gone. Like, you can tell he's going to catch him. I have a feeling he is having trouble accelerating on the turns. We talk about that with horse racing a lot. Athleticism with horses and how they can accelerate on the turns. Some can, some can't. He's a big kind of lumbering type. That might be an issue down the road, because sometimes it's hard to catch everybody in a big field when you're just making up ground in the stretch. Keep an eye on that. Maybe we'll see if he can kind of change that. But there was really no reason that he shouldn't have started picking up horses on the turn when asked, and he didn't. It was the stretch. So I thought that was interesting when I went back and looked at it again.
All right, guys, that's all the time we have. Aaron, thank you so much for dissecting these races with us. The Derby Trail, it's alive, it's crazy, it's wacky. This week, we have one more prep coming up, the Gunrunner. Aaron, it'd be amazing to get you back on and to dissect that, but we're so grateful for all of your time and your insights. What a year we have to look forward to.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, and let's look forward to the Gunrunner coming up on Saturday. And like I said, maybe we'll be back and we'll break that one down if we see something great.
All right, great stuff and insight there. Obviously, some big races last week to recap that with Aaron and get his thoughts on some of that coming up as well. Now, Ryan, it is that time. We've done it again. Is our guy Shug back again?
He's back, baby.
What the bleep? Let's go.
It's time to play What the Did That Horseman Say?
Man, I'm always excited to do this with you because you happen to be a very good guesser at this, but you also you seem to have spoke Shug's language last time.
I know, yeah.
Shug is back. I got tons of emails and texts about how much people loved when we did Shug, so we're bringing him back. We're bringing him back. And Shug, in case you're new to this show or you're new to racing, let me give you a few things about this man. This is a Hall of Fame trainer. He won the Kentucky Derby in 2013 with Orb. He's won almost every big race in the game, Matt. He's incredible. He's one of the most beloved men in the sport. He's also a true gentleman. And so we're going to listen to a clip of Shug talking about something race-related. I'm going to bleep out a word. Matt's going to try to guess what it is. And then if there's something to explain about it, we'll come back and we'll have a little teaching lesson about it for fun. But let's play the clips.
Stroke was made here, he got kind of away leaving the gate and got a little trouble in here around the 3/8 pole, and he's able to overcome it.
I'm going to say something about being pushed. It almost sounded like he got pushed out of the way, shoved out of the way. I'm going to go pushed. I'm going to say that's going to be my vote here for number one.
When he broke his maiden here, he got kind of smashed away leaving the gate and got a little trouble in here around the 3/8 pole, and he's able to overcome it.
Got smashed. I mean, Ryan, you think about the contact in the horse racing as pushed and shoved might not be enough. These guys are getting smashed. Explain to everybody what Shug was talking about there. I'm assuming that another horse kind of took his property a little bit there, right?
Yeah, Shug's got a horse. He's racing, and another horse smashes into him. And just imagine running full speed somewhere. You're trying to win a marathon race, and somebody comes in and hits you in the gut. You're pretty much race is done. And what Shug's saying in that clip is horse came over and smashed us, and our horse still was able to pull through and win. And that's a lot of credit to the horse and his internal and just will to win, but also to Shug always having these horses physically fit and ready to go. So yeah, Shug's just great at getting a horse to run their best race, and if they're good enough, they'll win. Now, how many times has he done that? Enough where he's won almost every major race in the United States. He's won a Derby, he's won a Belmont, he's not won a Preakness, and in this next clip, he's going to talk about what it would mean to have a Preakness.
You've won the Derby, you won the Belmont. What would it mean to you to kind of complete your own personal Triple Crown?
Well, it would mean a lot, I've been second here, and I'd sure like the opportunity to win, and that's some of my thinking. I can't win if he's in the stalls.
Sort of throw there. I'm going to say you can't win if your guy's sitting in the stalls and didn't even get to the starting line. I'm thinking that's where Shug's going. I'm going to go sitting for this one.
Lock it in.
Well, it would mean a lot. I've been second here, and I'd sure like the opportunity to win, and that's some of my thinking. I can't win if he's standing in the stalls.
I should have said standing because horses don't really sit. I mean, I know they lay down, but standing close enough.
You got the point. You got the gist of it. And the point is, this is what's great about racing is you can't be afraid to run. And I think that's one of the things that's great about Shug is he shows up and sometimes it's like, what is he doing in this race? Or how does he have a chance? But you have no chance if you don't show up. Your odds are 0 to whatever if you don't play and run, and Shug's always in it. So, one thing that Shug has chased and won eventually was the Derby, but just making it to the Derby, Matt, it's a miracle. It really is. I mean, it's making it to the Super Bowl. You not only have to have the best team, you have to stay healthy. So in this next clip, we're going to learn about what it takes to get to the Derby.
About derbies, the fact that you make it to a Derby, I think people understand just how tough it is to get there.
It's very difficult for the horses and for the trainers and owners. They just got to sit back and say, we just got to be patient and let this come to us. Because if you try to it probably ain't going to work.
I'm going to say try to force it. You know, he's talking about, again, you want it, you train hard, you push for it. Sometimes there's luck involved, but you can't force it. That's going to be my answer here for Shug.
It's very difficult for the horses and for the trainers and owners. They just got to sit back and say, we just got to be patient and let this come to us. Because if you try to force it, it probably ain't going to work.
Yeah. And I mean, Ryan, I can imagine there's stories over and over again of, again, highly rated and you believe this horse is going to do these things. They're training well. One injury, one illness, one sickness, one bad day. And it's just all the preparation. You could do everything perfectly. And sometimes it just doesn't go your way.
That's what's heartbreaking about it. I mean, and you think about other sports, right? If you put money down on a basketball game and LeBron doesn't play well that day, you got 4 other guys out on the court that could possibly help you win. In horse racing, it's like the reason that it's crazy to bet on it and it's so hard to is because so much can go wrong and there's no sort of like safety net to fall on. A horse could not show up. A horse can bump you. A jockey could give a bad ride. He could get fall off the horse. So exactly. Just showing up to the Derby is a miracle. Winning the Derby, you really are praying against all odds that that's a thing that'll happen in your lifetime, and that's why it's incredible when people are able to lay money down like my friend and almost win a Derby. That in itself is such a badge of honor. And so earlier in the game, Shug gave out one of his 2 best pieces of advice he ever heard. One was, you always show up and run. In this next clip, he's going to give out the second best thing he was ever told, the second best advice he ever got.
Another time was in 1988 Breeders' Cup, and I just finished second in the Classic. And I'm walking back by myself and kind of got my head down, and I hear a voice behind me go, "What kind of day do you have today, boy?" And I said, "Well, 1-1 was 2 seconds." And he said, "Man, you had a day, huh?" And it was Charlie Whittingham.
I'm going to say a good day. He's talking about being down, but you got a couple of seconds. I'm going to say he thinks he had a pretty good day there.
Another time was in 1988 Breeders' Cup, and I just finished second in the Classic. And I'm walking back by myself and kind of got my head down, and I hear a voice behind me go, "What kind of day do you have today, boy?" And I said, "Well, 1-1 was 2 seconds." And he said, "Man, you had a good day, huh?" And it was Charlie Whittingham.
I mean, I know you want to win. The money is there in the win, but you get paid out for second too, right? And you could build a nice career kind of off of that. So I kind of get where Shug's going with that one.
You and Shug speak the same language.
I'm going to have to go start training under him. I'll just make the move on down there. I'll just start working with Shug.
I think we found another side gig over here. It's incredible. So let's play this last clip and see if you can nail it and close it out.
Kind of laugh and say, I wish we had this horse today on Derby Day, but we didn't. But it's an entirely different horse now than it was then. To see the development of him, not only mentally but physically too, has been something that I've seen in very few horses. As much as he's up.
I'm going to say as much as he's messed up, and I think, obviously, I want to talk about the clip here in a little bit, but the horse that, again, not showing up on Derby Day, it's not the same one, but I'm going to say that he's messed up in the past, maybe a little bit of a different horse at that point.
Lock it in.
We kind of laugh and say, I wish we had this horse today on Derby Day, but we didn't. But it's an entirely different horse now than it was then. To see the development of him, not only mentally but physically too, has been something that I've seen in very few horses. As much as he's grown up.
Oh, grown up. Okay, yeah. So that's even a better part about that in the growing up. But I think that's another just so interesting part of training and being a part of horse racing, right, is that exact thing about the horse. Do you want the best horse that's a 2-year-old? No, maybe you want them better when they're 3. It's all about peaking at the right point. But what Shug is talking about there, obviously, with the horse growing up, and I just think when he says they're a completely different horse now, I mean, that applies to athletics, too. It's the same thing.
Absolutely. They say the hardest thing to do in all of sports is to win the Triple Crown of American horse racing, the Derby, the Preakness, the Belmont. I actually happened to befriend a man who did it, Billy Turner. He trained Seattle Slew. And one thing that he said a lot of things. The guy was like a horse whisperer, but one thing he said that kind of applies to what we're talking about that really stuck with me is how much mentally it taxes you running in the Triple Crown. Slew was undefeated. He won 9 races. In his next race, Billy Turner said he needs a long layoff. The owners disagreed. They ran him. And he lost. And he said they didn't understand because he looked physically good, how exhausted mentally he was. Billy was sort of a proponent of that before its time. And in that clip, he talks about how much a horse grows up physically and mentally. And so what I would say is what's crazy too, we talk about how bets are won and lost. You could have the right horse. He's seeming to follow his form. He could do everything right for you 10 times in a row. You've cashed. And it's draining mentally on these horses actually running these races, and you can't predict when it catches up with them. And so that's what's crazy too, is sometimes a horse might be a horse who could win a Derby, but mentally he's not ready for it, and you can never predict that. But we're going to try our best to predict something today and make you guys some money. What do you say about that, man?
I love it. The last Derby points race for 2024. We're going to Fairgrounds and the Gunrunner, Ryan. I like the name of this race.
Oh, yeah. Gunrunner was an awesome horse. He's maybe the second leading sire in the United States right now. I could be wrong, but he's up there. He's incredible. It takes place Saturday, December 21st in Louisiana. It's race 7. Matt, we got to get you involved in these picks as well. I'm just going to ask you, brother, who's the best name in the field for you? If you're going Matt's name pick.
All right, pull it back up there, Ryan. I'm assuming that, Built, Render Judgment, Magnitude, Chris's Revenge, Admiral Dennis. I like Magnitude. I think that's my favorite, and obviously the odds right there are telling you not too bad. I'm gonna take Magnitude. I think that's the best name there. I love it.
Dude, you're really great at this, because guess what? Most people see this race as a 2-horse race at the minute between Admiral Dennis and Magnitude, bro. So fantastic. Let's start with your boy Magnitude. He's been hit or miss. He's run some nice races, and other times he's off the board, but it seems like when he runs his race, Matt, the guy doesn't lose. So you got that going for you. I loved his last race when he won. He beat a horse named California Burrito, that's
another great name too, by the way.
Right? Makes me hungry just hearing it. And the problem is you can't always count on Magnitude. So let's see if you were going to go somewhere else where you'd go. And I'd say that's number 5, Admiral Dennis. He's the other big name. He's raced twice and won once. Matt, I think this horse should have won the race he lost. In my mind, he's undefeated. So I really like him. And there's another horse. If you were going to say, like, who's your third pick, I'd say Built, number 1. It's a nice little horse. He's 1 for 2. He's never been out of the money, and he has the highest time form rating of any horse in this field. And it's only by 1 point, but he's someone you have to take serious. And then just to round out the rest of the field, Render Judgment, he seems like a solid horse. Number 4, Chris's Revenge, he seems like a grinder. They're solid. I'm just not prepared to say they're on the Derby trail types until they show me otherwise. So I'm going to pass for now. It's a small race, but a good race. Ultimately, I'm going to pick number 5, Admiral Dennis. I think the horse could be a star. Now, if I'm wrong, I think Built or Magnitudes are your best bets. So you're either going by Matt's name, if you want to throw it out there, or Built's the one that kind of scares me a little bit, waiting in the wings. But there you go. Run down of the race. Number 5, Admiral Dennis. I would just try to cash on him. That's who I'm going with. And with that, let's move on to our second race that I want to cover today, which is in Florida. Let's go to the Pegasus World Cup Turfs Prep race of the Fort Lauderdale Stakes. So this race goes off at Gulfstream Park on Saturday, December 21st. It's the 10th race on the card. It's a grade 2, but it's a big grade 2 because it's a prep for the Pegasus World Cup Turf, as I said, which is a major race starting at the beginning of the year. It's a field of 9. We're going to do it again, Matt. I got to get you involved. You're doing fantastic with your picks always. So what name sticks out to you in this field if you had to pick a name?
I like Grand Sonata is speaking to me for some reason there in the 2 spot. Fort Washington's fine. Emmanuel, all right. Siege of Boston actually might be another one for me. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go 2 and 7 on you. I'm gonna say Grand Sonata and Siege of Boston are the 2 that I like the most there. Okay,
this is terrifying because for a long time last night, that was just going to be my straight up pick. And I'm going to start with how I did this. We'll round it back to you. I'm so blown away. This is just proof that you can handicap all night and a guy can come up here and just pick some names and kind of land where you are. But let's get to it. No spoilers. We got some fun stuff ahead. So this race is a very tough race, Matt. It's just difficult. I feel like, remember those books, Build Your Own Adventure books?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
This is the Build Your Own Adventure race. You could just choose a storyline and justify it with why you're going to pick a horse in this race. So with that, I'm going to try to make us some cash because I feel like this one is one you just swing for the fences, have a strong opinion, and cash with. So I'm going to read you not like kind of just my view of this race. The 5 horses I think have a shot at this. Okay. Number 1, Cash Equity. He hasn't won since June 2023. He's a useful horse who usually picks up a paycheck. He's just not one I'm going to want to bet based on form. Number 2, Grand Sonata. That was your name that you liked. I like that name too. I can see this horse winning, Matt. He couldn't stack up against the world's best in his last race, which is the Breeders' Cup Turf, but he is solid. And if he runs his best race, he can do it. To me, Grand Sonata is the X factor. He kind of needs to rewind time to pull this off, but on his best day, he's right there. Number 4, Major Dude. Now, this horse seems like an easy pick for most people. He's got Irad Ortiz on him. That's a great sign. He has the co-highest time form number in the race. He's one of the horses who won last time out, and I think he's sort of the bar that needs to be jumped in order to win. So why not try to beat him? I don't love this horse. He's just the easy pick. So let's go to your second favorite name here, Siege of Boston, number 7. Siege of Boston, I want to try and make some money in this race, and I think he'd need to be a little better priced than I think he would get for me to pick him to win. But at his best, he's got a huge shot. I think he's just sort of not the horse I want to take a shot on today if I was going to pick to win. He's only won 3 times in his life. He's a very good underneath candidate, which is where you have him, Matt. You have him second. And I get the feeling his connections enter this horse thinking every time, hey, maybe he'll win today. We talked about that mental thing. You just don't know if he's mentally there. So I can't predict that. That's my problem. I think if he had that, he's a winner every time. Number 8 is interesting, Fort Washington. Now, this horse and Siege of Boston are like completely similar. One's won 3 times. This one's won 4 times. However, I think Fort Washington's going to be a better price than Siege of Boston. So if I like Siege of Boston, Fort Washington's sort of the poor man's version of that. He's going to be a good price. I think he'll be right there. So with that, here's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to really try to make you guys some money on this race because, I mean, I'm always trying. But what I think is that this is a big money-making opportunity here because it's a mess. So here's what I would do to cash. Yours was Grand Sonata, number 2, over number 7, Siege of Boston. Here's what I did because I wanted to get the better price. I really debated that as my pick, Matt. I'm going to do number 2, Grand Sonata, over number 8, Fort Washington.
Sure.
They're like the same horse, just one's better price.
Right.
And then I'm going to put Major Dude, number 4, in 3rd, and number 1, Cash Equity, in 4th. So let's just try to hit something and pay really good. I think Grand Sonata is going to fire. I think if he fires this race, he's the class of the field. I can see a random horse running in 2nd. So why not make it the number 8? Like I said, by the way, number 8's trained by Shug. That's got to be a good omen.
It's got to be a good omen for us. How could it not be? Of course.
So, you know, if I'm going to talk about Shug on this show, let's throw him on our ticket. We got number 4, Major Dude, who I said is the bar. I could just see this horse not firing or just running his race and 2 guys jumping up and beating him on the day. He's my 3rd horse. And Cash Equity, I see him hitting the board as well. If you're trying to hit the super, let's cash and make some money this week. That's our picks.
I love it a lot. I do. Now, last week we had a little adventure here with my racehorse on naming a horse. Ryan, we got a little update for everybody on that.
Yes. So I gave you 10 names to choose from. So, you know, the name you went with was Spanky. I submitted it. Now, last time you named a horse, you got it to be the name, but it wasn't where you were picking from a list of 10 names. It was your own. So whether this goes right or wrong, this is no reflection on you.
All good.
This is, I asked all my family and loved ones. I said, Spanky was one of the names here. You picked it. The names came out. We've got the Elite 8 names for Spanks a Million. Here we are.
Ooh, I like it. All right. Herbalist, Native Brew, HR Nightmare, Legion, which I like that name a lot. Notification, Voodoo Boulevard is really cool as well. The Adjuster, and what is that? Cabaton?
You know what? That one is like you win like a spelling bee if you can get that.
Yeah, that's
one.
all good.
But so Spanky didn't make the list. It's nothing to do with you. Somebody else had the horse's name when I went to submit it. So you're free and clear. It was a great bet. I want to know if you had to pick one of these names. I'll do it again. I'll submit. You might name a horse after all. These were the final 8. What would you go with?
I would go Legion or Voodoo Boulevard. I like Voodoo Boulevard. I like that one a little bit better. That one stands out to me a little bit. I like it. I'm looking at the horse too. I think, let's go Voodoo Boulevard. I like that one a lot.
So this is what's cool about my racehorse. Let's say you're like stuck and you don't know. You're allowed to submit 4 names on that entire list.
Okay.
Right? You are allowed to. So I gave you 2. Do you have 2 more? Let's just like roll it up.
Yeah, one more time. So again, we'll go Legion, Voodoo Boulevard. I like the Adjuster. Sounds like a wrestling name in some kind of way. And then Notification. I like it. We'll go just those 4 right there in a row. Legion, Notification, Voodoo Boulevard, and the Adjuster. Let's roll with those.
I love it. I love it. So you guys are going to have to come back, see if Matt's got a second horse name. He's done fantastic with names. And man, it's been crazy. You might name 2 horses, Matt.
That would be great. That would be great. Anybody can get involved as well. You go to myracehorse.com right now. Perfect Impression, up and available. Spanks a Million, we were just talking about, up and available. Blip Says Bye, and also Malibu Bonnie, all available on myracehorse.com. All you have to do, go download the app, go check out their website, myracehorse.com, and you can be involved with thoroughbred horse racing and potentially see your horse racing in the Triple Crown all the great information that we get to here on the show. We could be talking about your horse. The updates are expansive. Ryan's talking about the horse I was able to name. Improbable Luck. Ryan, I get updates every week. I get videos. I get everything for a small, you can buy as many shares as you want. Shares are all kind of priced out. Get one for that last minute holiday gift idea for somebody if they're into horse racing. I love it. It's been so much fun to just be involved, and I cannot wait until next year to see if one of these horses are able to make it. Not necessarily the horse we're talking about, but Improbable Luck, you never know. And then also the races that we all talk about, not just the Breeders' Cup, but Ryan, there's so many races that these horses are involved in, and you get in there for one share, as many shares as you like. You're potentially winning money if the horses do well, and 4 really great options right now. Blip says buy Malibu Bonnie, Spanks a Million, and Perfect Impression 23, all available right now at myracehorse.com. I love what they're doing, and it is just a lot of fun for the casual fan.
As always, you put it so perfect, and yeah, come on and join the fun, because I'm excited about Spanks a Million. I'm not just preaching it. I really enjoy owning these things, and it's really fun to say, not only do I own a piece of an athlete, but I get paid if they win races. How fun is that? It's actually, you can win some money back too. So it's a lot of fun. Come on and join the fun.
Absolutely. And there's exclusive events for owners, that we do as part of our Big Play Network, but certainly at My Racehorse, a chance to go to see some of these horses in person at the races. It is so much fun. Just start your journey, create that account, myracehorse.com. That is myracehorse.com. You can see all the offerings, all the options right there. Download the app. It is the best. Great time today here on Talkin' Track. We'll be back soon. It's a production of My Racehorse and the Big Play Sports Network. It's Ryan Stillman. I'm Matt Fontana. Thanks for watching.